Hi everyone, welcome to the next session of SAP BW online training tutorials. So in my last session, I've given you introduction about the, how to extract or what are the different extraction techniques available when we want to load data from different source systems to BW system. And I've also explained how to use BW content extractor to load data from ECC to BW system. So in this session, I'm going to explain about LO extraction, which stands for logistics extraction. So logistic extraction is mainly delivered as part of business content in SAC, in ECC to extract logistics modules data to BW system. Why there is separate extraction process for logistics? Because this is the area where each and every organization, even though it's a small or medium industry, medium scale industry, they will have huge number of records or transactions flow when it compared to other modules like HR or finance or COPA. Okay, so what are those logistic modules? Okay, and where we can see all the LO data sources. We all know that RSA5 is the place where we can see all the business content extractors or business content data sources. So if we log into a ECC system, so this is the login screen where we can give our username and password. So RSA5 is the place where we can see all the business content data sources which are in delivered version. So here if we navigate and if you go to SD, and let's say we can see the LO data sources name starts with 2 LIS. So this is the naming convention for LO data sources. So instead of here, let's say once we activate here, we can go and check in RSA6. So is there any T code where we can see all the LO data sources? Then answer is yes. So the transaction code to see all the LO data sources is LBWE. So LBWE is the data transaction code where we can see all the LO data sources. If you go to LBWE, so we can see all the LO data sources are grouped as modules or application wise, and each application will have unique number, which is application number. Okay, you can see, right? So, 2 stands for purchasing, 3 for inventory controlling, and 4 for shop control management, and 5 for quality management. Let's say 11, 12, 13 for sales, where the first one is sales and shipping and billing, and 17 is for plant maintenance, 18 for customer services. So in the same way, for all the LO data sources are grouped as module wise, and for each module will have its own application number which is unique. And if you want to see the data sources that are under each application, we can see, you can see, right? So these are all the data sources which can be used to extract purchasing data. In the same way, these are the data sources which can be used to extract inventory data. So in the same way, we'll have for sales, for everything we can see. Now, how data flow differs from standard BW content extractors? Like what is the difference between LO and normal data extraction process? So these the normal data extraction process from ECC to BW for any BW content extractor, where you can load data in 2 methods. One is full and another one is delta load. At any point of time, data or a system will access application tables to read data. Okay. Now, as when it comes to LO extraction or modules which are going to have huge number of records when compared to other modules, are grouped as LO extraction, and SAP has given different extraction methodology to extract data from application tables. So what is the difference we have? So in the same way as we have in BW content extractors, we are going to have application tables to which users will post records, or users will post transactions. So once we have transactions in application tables, either we can run full load or delta load as specified here. But in this case, both full load and delta load will pick the data from application tables. But it's not the case here. We have two different modules or two different interfaces or intermediate layers between your application tables and your delta queue. So here we have delta queue, right? So we are going to have two different interface layers. One is setup tables and another one is update methods. So what is setup table and what is update methods? So setup table is a same structure of a data source. Why do we need setup tables? Setup tables are required when you are trying to load historical data or when you want to load full load. So if you want to load all the historical data for any data source, for any LO data source to BW, you need setup tables, because setup table sits in ECC itself. However, in our earlier case, if you want to do full load, you are directly loading data from your application tables to BW directly. There is no intermediate layer here. And if you have millions of records, what you are trying to do? You are trying to load data from one system to other system. Obviously, it will take time. So that is the reason when you have so much amount of data, instead of directly loading data from your source to target system, in this case ERP to BW, you load data to setup tables from our application, which is going to be a lot faster because both sits in same system. What you are doing, you are copying data from one structure to other structure within the system. Obviously, it will be a lot faster. One simple example is like, copying any file from C drive to D drive in your laptop versus copying a file from your laptop to pen drive. Okay, so you can easily find out the difference in copying the file. So in the same way, using setup tables, we load data from application tables to setup tables, which is going to be a lot faster. Once you have data in setup tables, we load data from setup tables to BW. So what we are trying to do here, we'll reduce the time required to read data from application tables. Okay, and the next one is that is okay. So with setup table concept, we can overcome the time required to read data from application tables when we are loading full load or when we are loading all the historical data. Now the second one is delta load. So how can we, even in delta load case also, in our earlier case, system is trying to read data from application tables. So how can we overcome that? So to overcome it, SAP has introduced update methods concept. So in this case, the data loading, in case of delta, it's a pull mechanism. So whenever you run info package, it will pick the data from your application tables. Whereas in LO extraction case, it's a push mechanism. So by default, ECC system itself will give you the delta records till delta Q RSS7. That means till here. So at any point of time, you will have delta records available here, not here. So what happens whenever you run delta info package, you will get records from here. So you are not reading delta records from application tables whenever you run info package. By default, you are going to have delta records available in delta Q. So how these delta records are going to available in delta Q is because of update methods. So we have different update methods available for LO data sources. So those are like, we have unserialized V3 and direct delta and queued delta. So we have three types of update methods available. So where I can see these update methods. So we can see these update methods in LBWE. So in LBWE, LO data extraction transaction code, we can see update mode or update method here. Okay. And update modes is not for individual data source, it's for each application. So for each application, you will have one update mode. Okay. And if you want to change it, you can change. You can click on this and you can change it to whichever update mode you want. But it's always a best practice to leave it as what SAP has given. Okay. Now we'll see the difference between these update modes, like how data flows in each update mode. Now if we go to here, so these are the different update modes, and first we'll take direct delta. So in case of direct delta, what happens? Users will enter their sales orders or purchase orders using specific transaction codes in ECC system. So once they save that either sales order or purchase order, those will come and inserted into application tables. Okay. So how those transactions are going to insert into application tables? Using different update methods. So right now we have seen update modes here. We also have concept called update methods. So what is update method? So update method is the concept how your application tables in source are going to update it. So we have three different update methods available. One is V1 update, and then V2 update, V3 update, or we can also call it as serialized V3. Okay. So now V1 update is dialog process. V2 update is background process. Okay, and V3 update is also a background process. What is dialog process and what is background process? Now let's open BW system. See, when I go to RSA1, you can see system is rotating, right? You can see my cursor, or let's say go to BI content. You can see system. I can see one circle rotating around my mouse. Click. Let's say go to now. So those are called dialog process, which happens at the foreground. So when dialog process is happening, that particular screen will get locked. Until the dialog process will get successful, system will not release the lock for that particular transaction or particular screen. That is the reason we cannot do anything now until it gets refresh. That's why we'll get that busy symbol, circle rotating. So those are called dialog jobs. So dialog jobs are going to happen in the foreground. What is background? When we load a when we try to load data from DSO to InfoCube, we'll schedule data transfer process. So it will pick data in the background. So it will schedule a job which picks data from source to target. So those are background jobs. So V2 updates are happen in the background. And then V3 also a background job. Now how this is going to apply when you try to insert records or transactions into application tables. Let's take an example of creating sales order. So if you want to create a sales order, the transaction code is VS01. Okay, press enter. This dialog job, you can see, right? The screen is locked. I cannot do anything until it gets to a new user interface or new navigation. Till this screen comes, I cannot do anything. Here we'll select what is our order type. So you'll have different order types. Okay, and most of the times it's going to be standard order. So code for standard order is OR. So here I can see right, standard order. So this is the most commonly order created. Then we have to select sales organization. So under which sales organization this particular standard order comes. Let's select anything we can select. Let's say Canada, Toronto. And then we have to select distribution channel. Let's say services. And then division you have to select. Say IT vehicles, sales office. No, if we don't have values, we can ignore that. Then we can just press enter, which gives you has not been defined in sales area. Okay. I'll just remove those and try, because it says that particular order type has not been defined for this particular sales organization. So we'll just take them out so that we can even enter those later when we get main screen for sales order. So it takes some time, because this is again foreground job, which is a dialog job. The screen is locked until we get this. Okay, so here we can enter, who is the sold to party, who is shipped to party, what is the purchase order number, what is the material that customers is going to buy, everything we can enter here. Once we enter all the details, we'll click on save. So when we click on save, system will generate a sales order number. For this sales order number is automatic generation. So until the main components are saved into a table, your system will get locked, or your screen, this particular screen will get locked. So whatever the main components are there in the sales order, those will be updated with V1. So what are going to be the main components in sales order? Let's say order number, and then who is the customer, then what is the material, and then quantity, then price. So few things like these are going to be the main components of the sales order. So all these components will be updated to the table using V1 update. So until these values gets updated to a table, you cannot create another sales order. Then what is going to happen with V2 job? Let's say you have quantity and price, and you have to calculate net sales. Okay, and then based on the customer, system has to define what percentage we have to give. So these are all going to be secondary things. Say net sales, and then discount percentage, total sales after discount. So these are all we can calculate if you have quantity and price. So these are going to be the main components, and these are secondary components. So all the secondary elements will be updated using V2 update, which runs at the background. Then why do we need V3? V3 is used to post the documents or to post the transactions between modules. Let's say you have some sales happen in your organization, some sales have happened today. Obviously this sales has to be updated to your finance or your COPA. Then only you will get a correct profitability analysis. So how these updates are going to happen in the background? So these updates will happen using V3. So V3 jobs are used to post the records or to move the transactions between your modules in the source system or in the ECC system. So these are the different update methods we have in ECC system. Now comes to update modes. So we have update modes for LO extraction. So what are those update modes? Update modes: direct delta, queued delta, and unserialized V3. If we see in our source, we have direct delta, queued delta, and we also have unserialized V3. Okay, which is not taken for any of the application. But if we see here, we can see 3 update modes. Now how data flows? So for the direct delta, whenever the transactions are posted, they will come and inserted or updated to your application tables. So from there, if one transaction is posted to your application table, immediately that particular transaction will be updated to your delta queue using V1 update. Okay, so when whatever the transactions that you are going to post, those will be updated to your delta queue, and whenever you run a delta info package here, it will pick data from delta queue to BW. So we are not going to touch application tables here. Okay, so here data will be moved as LUWs. LUW stands for logical unit of work. So LUW stands for logical unit of work. Okay, so in this case, as each transaction is going to be posted to your delta queue. One LUW is going to be one record in direct delta case.